feels like strawberry on a summer evening. It tastes like strawberry. Anyway, I think this should work. Good evening, welcome back to In the Khud. This is September 28th, 2022. This is 9:10 p.m. From where I'm looking at right now, I'll probably have to not go to the gym today because it's super late already and I'm super tired. The reason being, this was easily one of the most, I would say, engaging days in the recent past when it comes to engaging as in just working on my thing and the thing that I kind of even love doing. Only the creator side of the full-time job and not much managerial work. I mean, a few things keep happening throughout the day, but I didn't even check if this is fine. It should be fine only. I mean, here's where I need to take a bit of inspiration from CG Matter / Default Cube. The guy just literally uses his webcam to record stuff. It's the content that matters, but I'm trying to make the content only better through all this extra effort. I mean, the first 64 episodes on this show, tube light, the way the room normally would be, and of course this mic, because that's like literally no friction. Now setting up these lights specifically because I don't have switchboards behind, so I have to get the wires in and put the softbox on. There's a bit of friction involved here, but I think it's worth the trade-off. So woke up at 6:30 today. First thing I did is I took Snowy down. I didn't wait for the morning schedule or anything because I just love him and I love Snowy so much. He's just waiting for me to take him down. So like, I'm gonna put myself behind. I'm gonna give my what do you call jigar ka tukda in English? I'll give my jigar ka tukda priority. So that's what I did then, morning schedule. Now, after coming up, I did watch a couple of CG Matter or Default Cube tutorials. One was the 3D ice cream modeling one. That's where I've written this. One 3D project every weekend is on. Let's go. This week we're doing Magnum ice cream. Watched a tutorial on how the ice cream can be modeled. We can have a bite into it. Particle systems on top. Want to experiment with geometry nodes as to how much of this process can be done procedurally in changing the shape of the ice cream. Then Chong 3D has a video on how geonodes can be used to have cream simulation on top. Can try that as well. Super looking forward to it. It's going to be on the weekend. Now there's a bunch of small things I've learned, and of course I'm going to walk you through the progress in the Tata AIG video that I've been making, and I'm not going to care about is it not allowed or not, because A, it's highly unlikely that anyone's going to have an issue with it, and B, it's highly unlikely that anyone's gonna see this video in the first place. I mean, not at least in the recent future. We'll see if things go wrong at some point later. And another thing is, every time I make such big videos, the one thing that I've always wanted to do but I could never get the time to is like maybe have a session like this where I dissect all the things that I did in the video, the things that could be done better and stuff like those. So obviously In the Khud is supposed to be a real time, like we have real time preview. It's like a real time documentation of life and not waiting for, setting up things where I will document these things. I'm gonna like firstly drink some water, my throat is hurting. This aspect ratio is frankly not a problem to work at all. Why does the tutorial have to be 16:9? I'm have it 2:1. I like the cinematic look. So if you look at this video from the beginning, over here, this is the 3D thing that's happening, like C4D extruded out the video I made, I think a couple or 3 days back. That's how that is achieved. This is coming in. Now one very weird thing happened here is I had to have these as shape layers, which I made in Illustrator and then brought in here, because once you come in here, I wanted to do this kind of transition here, right? But for that transition to happen, C4D won't allow you to do that. So only this composition, the one composition, is running through a C4D renderer, right? And then the whole entirety of this main composition is Cinema Classic 3D. So that's why this mushakkat had to be done. I think there's an easier way to avoid it, but that's the thing that I did. Now we transition from here to here. Now this is an interesting comp here because we had 4 split screens here. So what I did is I started literally from scratch. Okay, if you see this, that's where I started on mat 1. It's a rectangle, so I'm positioning and scaling the size. Okay, it's not the position of the rectangle itself, it's the size. So using math, I'm going from full to half, from half to, I'm taking the above two to where they need to be finally, and so it's splitting into 3. The one is coming from the bottom, and then finally we get this coming in. And so it's just do everything in like linear keyframes, and then at the end just select all of them and apply easy ease or whatever easing you want. So then that way there won't be any gaps in between if the influence or the velocity is same throughout. Need a script split screen. I just press like a button and have these happening. I think that might not be possible because it's just so custom. Now again, inside these compositions, here there is no DUIK. Here, if you see carefully, this boy is typing something. I've used DUIK for the arm. Over here, of course, this Ranveer Singh character, it's not Ranveer Singh. So here there is a simple DUIK controller which is having like an arm IK. So I'm just positioning and rotating the controller, and that's doing this thing. For the blink, I've done a very poor way of doing it. I've set up layer called close. Okay, eye close, and then there's an eye open. So I just duplicate and split the eye close so it seems like he's blinking. I think this is the most, I'd say, reasonable way to do it with this illustration style. Like how else would you could just scale it down the eyeballs and then that would be it, but then what happens to this is upward semicircle needs to become a downward semicircle, and I think we could do that using controllers in DUIK. So I think I'll try that better way of doing it, but then you'll need the artwork separately. So whatever works. This is another interesting one where again I used DUIK for the two arms, and then I want to show this newspaper opening effect. And even for the eyes, if you see the positioning of the eyes is going from the newspaper to the scene behind where cranes and everything is happening, and then it's coming to the camera, and in the background there is this crane movement happening. So we use DUIK here. Over here this dude is just coming on his one wheel, and this person, that's a DUIK thing he's doing with his arms. Here just added some turbulent displace to a hair. We zoom into this place to transition as in a home to the next part. These homes are popping up. Okay, the clouds are moving behind. Okay, yeah, one thing that I use throughout this video a lot, and it would be so nice if I had a script for it, is this thing that you have a layer, right? You make a mask on top of it, and then you position the mask going in a certain direction. It can be either vertical or horizontal. So definitely need a script for mask transition. What this needs to do is make a mask. I was stuck here only. How do I make a mask? I remember like a few days back I was trying to make a script where I was getting stuck at the point where how do you just make a mask on top of the layer. So you basically need a mask of the layer size, option to transform either in X or Y, and then obviously how much and everything that will be there, light sweep, whatever you call it. Then from here we go, okay, this is nice. Here I was just given this artwork like in this position. How do I even go about animating it? So I got this nice thing from Envato where this person is just coming in and hitting it, and then obviously I keyframed this. The opacity is the fade in, and then this ball is going in, and this camera movement, everything I done in the very basic storyboard animation, just replace the compositions here. Over here I have to get this graph going up, and then again we see one and building in the newspaper. We go into that and reveal this. Now here this is again another interesting composition. There's too many things happening here. Like for instance, this first thing is this I say Lord, I have to edit that everything out in the edit. I'm trying to be conscious, not say okay. This person walking from behind a walk cycle. Yesterday only I said I don't quite know how to do that using DUIK, so I tried doing it in like so I tried doing it in frame by frame, but even the frame by frame thing I'm not quite sure. It's like how do I take it forward? Maybe the scale has to go down for the next set or something. Over here in this composition though, here this ward boy person is doing a walk cycle, which it's not bad, it looks a bit weird. And this dude behind the doctor is just rocking, man. He just looks like an intern. And why is this guy just carrying like an empty stretcher to the ambulance anyway? Don't try to find logic, and this should actually move up and down. I don't know. But yeah, this is a walk cycle I did. Here I did not take a humanoid for the DUIK rig. It's just legs, 2 legs. Obviously contact pose, passing pose, and up pose, down pose. That's the basics. This is a very interesting composition, as in there is so much happening here. If I was to look at the main controller for the girl, there is only these keyframes. Okay, now this controller here, what does it do is the head. It makes the head go there, and then there is one, I think, even for the body. If you move this forward and backward, she will, like the body will move. But then I just felt like she's getting too close to the patient for no reason. So I just kept her here, and here there's a lot of detailing I've done in the animation, as in you see here the blood is like wave up on it and the heart is beating, and there's a mat for the graph behind and stuff. I feel like too much work I did here for a frame which is not even completely in frame. Maybe somebody will look at it and appreciate it, but I don't know. Okay, again here this frame is primarily just that same masking thing, you know. All these layers I separated out in Photoshop and just mask them out, and then they're fading in. Frankly, I find fading in to be the most non-creative way to like show something, but there's something I've noticed and learned in the past, I'd say a couple of projects, is a fade in just works. I mean, they will just appreciate that fade in instead of you're trying to be creative and not doing something simple strategies. They don't work out usually. Then there is this entire timeline which I have to work on yet still. Ranveer Kapoor coming up, and over here I did one thing where I added a flicker. Again, all this flowchart thing is just the masking part. Okay, then we go to this. Okay, now this is interesting. Here I did get struck. I'll just play this once.
The best-in-class app, helping users access all their policies and download them with a single tap on the go.
I got stuck here for a long time in this thumb animation. So mobile, yeah. So there is the reason I got stuck is because I was just trying to replicate it on my phone. When you try to swipe up, you're just using the top half of the thumb, not the whole thumb, to swipe up. It's like a very casual movement. So I had to divide it into 3 parts. Right, if I look at this particular layer, there is thumb base, and there is thumb up, and then thumb tip, and then I just made a set of structures, like custom structures in DUIK. And the reason I was getting stuck is because they were not at the point where they should be. They were like up or down, so the controller was just behaving weirdly. Do like what I want to do, and this thing can like go with auto stretch. Just turn that off.
Helping users
The result looks decent enough. It just does feel like the scrolling happening. The flick, of course, when it's going down, I need to put something behind it. Over here there is these 2 dudes who are shaking their hands.
Can't be a
this
part
I had made in I think on Sunday.
Can't be a part of not just one of the leading insurance companies in the country.
There's a bunch of small things I learned today. Edit font for multiple text layers in Photoshop. Like select these 2 and open the properties panel, and then you can choose whichever font you want. Simple, but reverse order layer of Photoshop. You can select these layers. I'm going to reverse the layer of orders, come to layer, arrange, and reverse. And I've set a shortcut for it, F14, which is G2 on my keyboard. Color post renders are off. Now there's something that was happening a lot, that when I'm rendering stuff in Premiere, the color is looking desaturated. So what you have to do is, in your render settings, you have to apply a LUT in the effects tab, and that solves it. It's in my downloads folder. Quickly changing, oh huge, brush settings active tool. Okay, now let's say I'll just make a new layer so I'm not messing anything here. Let's say I'm on my brush tool and I want to change to my other tool, right? Shift left bracket does bring it to the first brush ever. Okay, keep it above this. Okay, so this is a charcoaly thing. Now I want to change to any other. I just right click and I can choose whichever brush. I had to go up here and do that, but you just right click, and that is huge. The reason it's huge is because the things that you just do like unknowingly, and then they end up being a very integral part of your workflow. So that was that. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up what I had to document for today. Yeah, one big thing that happened is this book came in. I don't want to risk moving focus because I don't know then how the video will react, but the book is complete. Book of Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. I definitely need to get back to the habit of reading again. I don't even remember the last book I read. There's this book, Steal Like an Artist, is lying on my desk and I haven't read it completely. Every single morning in my morning schedule I can have like 15 minutes or 20 minutes where I just read some parts of this book, and that would be nice. That's it. That's all I have to document. Thanks so much for being in the Khud. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.